The carpenter's tub. Once in a busy town, there lived an old carpenter named Silas. He was very good with wood, but very bad at sharing. He had a young wife named Elowin, who was as bright as a new penny and as wild as a field of clover. Silas kept her tucked away in his house, fearing that her beauty would catch the eye of someone younger and far more clever than himself. Silas rented a room to a young scholar named Osric. Osric spent his days with books and his nights studying the stars, or so Silas thought. In truth, Osric spent much of his time finding ways to talk to Elowin. He was charming and quick-witted, and he knew that Silas's greatest weakness was his fear of the unknown. But Osric wasn't the only one who admired Elowin. A local clerk named Felix was also quite smitten. Felix was a fancy man who wore curled hair and shoes with long, pointed toes. He would often come to Elowin's window at night to play his lute and sing songs of love, though Elowin found him more annoying than a buzzing fly. Osric hatched a plan to spend a whole night with Elowin. He stayed in his room for days, pretending to be in a deep, prophetic trance. When Silas finally checked on him, Osric gasped in horror. He told Silas that he had seen a vision in the stars. A second great flood was coming that very night, even bigger than the one Noah had faced. Silas was terrified for his beloved Elowin. Osric told him they could be saved if they hung 3 large wooden tubs from the rafters of the roof. "We must sit in them separately," Osric warned, "and we must not say a single word once we are inside, or the charm will be broken and the water will take us." Silas and Elowin spent the evening hauling tubs to the ceiling. As the sun set, Silas climbed into his tub with an axe by his side, ready to cut the rope when the water rose. He sat in the dark, silent and shivering, waiting for the rain. Because he was old and had worked so hard to prepare, it wasn't long before his head began to nod, and he fell into a deep, snoring sleep. With Silas safely asleep and tucked away in the ceiling, Osric and Elowin climbed down from their own tubs. They tiptoed through the dark house, laughing softly at the success of their trick. They spent the night sitting by the fire, sharing stories and snacks, perfectly dry and perfectly happy while the carpenter dreamed of rain. Late that night, Felix decided to try his luck at Elowin's window once more. He begged for just one kiss to keep his heart from breaking. Elowin decided to play a trick of her own. She told him to close his eyes and lean in. Instead of her face, she presented a very different part of herself through the dark window, and Felix kissed it before realizing he had been teased. Felix was furious. He ran to a blacksmith and borrowed a glowing, red-hot iron. He returned to the window and called out again, promising a gold ring for another kiss. Osric, wanting to join the fun, leaned out of the window to repeat Elowin's trick. But when he did, Felix struck with the hot iron. Osric let out a scream that shook the house. "Water! Help! Water!" High in the rafters, Silas woke up with a jolt. Hearing the cry of "water," he was sure the flood had arrived. He grabbed his axe and chopped the rope holding his tub. He came crashing down through the floorboards and landed in a heap in the cellar. The neighbors ran in to see the commotion, and they all laughed at the carpenter who thought he was a sailor.